Welcome, one and all, to the Salty Nerd Podcast covers House of the Dragon. We're talking episode 7 today, Driftmark. It was a more setup for this final season, or for this first season of the show. A lot to talk about, a lot of maneuvering, a lot of politicking, and the lines have been drawn. And lots of dragons, too. Welcome, everybody, in the chat. We've got Anthony here, Marshall, Eric, the redheaded... Oh, that's Jude. What's up, Jude? Welcome, everybody. Speaking of Jude, let me introduce my panel of nerds. Oh, thank you for my drink, my dear. Go ahead and, Kadish, open it up to the chat. What's up, everybody? Matt Vader's here. What's up?
I'm still waking up.
You're grumpy today.
No, I'm not.
And Jude is also here. Welcome, Jude.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm
digging the background.
Thank you. You like the black?
I do.
Window into nothing.
Yeah.
It's the anti-nerd stream.
You're just like a head floating in space.
I got a gray shirt on.
It.
You can see my shirt.
I like it. No, I'm saying I like it.
All right. Charles is also here. Welcome back, sir.
Hello there.
I am going to be looking for you to explain what in the world is going on in this show. I feel like this entire season is just pure setup for things that are to come. Because
yes,
I feel like all the characters we're going to care about are going to come in season 2. And last but not least, the producer of the show, Matthew Kadish. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, I also feel like this season is really rewarding book readers, because if you are coming into it without any context from the books, it's going to be a little bit hard to follow. But this was definitely my favorite episode of the season so far. Like, I really love this episode, so I'm excited to talk about it. And it should be noted that Jude and I weren't here last week. You guys were on your own.
I was just about to say we missed you guys last week.
I know. You guys were chatting
traveling.
Yeah, you were in the car listening to us.
We were in the car watching.
And I think after we are done talking about Hot D, we should turn this into a Crown podcast.
Yes, I was wondering how you guys thought about that.
Talk about the royal family for a couple months.
The real Game of Thrones.
I'm being serious. I was actually very interested.
I'm cool
in what you guys had to say about that.
We're going to have to start a new podcast where Americans talk about the British royal family.
Yeah.
It's just always interesting, like when, talking to my parents about it and finding out, because, when they were young, their country was basically, a colony for like the first 12 years of their lives. So it's always interesting getting their feedback on that.
Mm. All right. Without further ado, guys, let's get into episode 7 of House of the Dragon, called Driftmark. So it opens up with the funeral for Daemon's wife, Laenor? What is it?
Laena.
Can't get these names straight. Laena
and Laenor.
Yeah. Is that the brother? Laenor is the brother?
Yeah.
Yes.
Laenor's the brother. Laena's the sister.
All right.
Lenara,
yeah.
Don't make it complicated.
Lena Headey.
Lena.
Anyway, so it's the funeral. What kind of struck me about this opening scene, and I'm curious to get the book reader's thoughts on this, because I really kind of felt lost, because there was very little dialogue, but a whole bunch of like side eye going on in this part. Like, nobody was talking, but everybody was just like looking.
Yeah.
Lots of looks.
Yeah, lots of side
serving
looks.
the looks.
And I'm curious to hear what you guys think. We'll start with Charles. What do you think about the side looks in this part?
I felt. So this was probably one complaints I had in this episode, is that I felt the scene went on a little longer than it needed to. But I really did. It was just, you saw the factions hardening, particularly when on one vein, you could tell that when it came to the children, I'm guessing Corlys and Rhaenys I'm sure they liked Laena better because she did her duty and she produced pure Valyrian children, unlike Laenor, who is the worst and useless. You could clearly see, I loved the scene, the little scene with at least Daemon and Laena's kids and Rhaenyra's kids, them kind of bonding. And I think, again, what it constantly shows, I mean, I'm not going to get into the further part, but I think you see, even though Rhaenyra didn't want to be a mom, she's actually a really good mother compared to Alicent. She's actually very warm. She's very nurturing. She's she even just kind of, the way she kind of just, Alicent didn't tell her kids, hey, go comfort Daemon's kids. It was just basically, she said, hey, you know, they could use a kind word right now. And she said it. She was just a very good mother. And that part I really like in the dialogue we did here.
Yeah. Her son's reply though, he's like, I have just as much claim to sorrow. Like, my dad just died. She's like, shh, don't say that.
Shut your ass up.
You're gonna get us all killed.
And then it was funny in the same scene, because this was such a long scene. Basically, Corlys, I mean, he could have been a little more quiet, but oh yeah, his brother was like giving Rhaenyra the stink eye when he was saying the funeral rites about when he was talking about blood, and he's like da da da, and he's just like, dude, you need to.
When Daemon started laughing.
Oh, that was great. So the guy who's the God,
That's like
Laenor, her brother.
Laenor, the brother.
Her brother was giving the eulogy basically at the funeral.
No.
And
It was
no.
That
Uncle.
was her uncle?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Her uncle was giving the eulogy at the funeral, and he was throwing hardcore shade at Rhaenyra's whole family.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, my niece was so wonderful, added to the Valyrian blood of our family, the blood that runs thick, the blood that cannot be thinned by lesser people. And she's like staring at Rhaenyra the whole time.
So another thing I actually noticed, and this is something that I'm kind of confused about. I don't know if they removed him from the show. Maybe they did. Like, this is not really a spoiler, just to let you guys know. Like, Alicent actually has 4 kids, or is supposed to have 4 kids, and I'm only seeing 3. So I'm wondering if they removed him altogether from the show. I'm not sure.
Did he do? I'm guessing he didn't do much of note then.
Well, he comes into play later, but maybe he's somewhere else. But they haven't said yay or nay if she does have another child. Like, he's the youngest boy, Darren, the first Darren that we know of. But yeah, just an FYI.
All right,
Darren, first of his name.
Yeah,
Kadish, what were your thoughts on the funeral?
So one of the interesting parts about this show is that this scene was the first scene that they shot. Actually, for the show.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like, even though it comes in episode 7, this was the beginning of production for, you know, the
House of
production,
Dragon.
I guess. Yeah. So I really like this scene. This is the first time all the major players of the Dance of Dragons are together. We got all the kids, we got all like the progenitors, you know, like everyone who has a part to play in the coming Civil War is present in this scene for the first time together. And we see a lot of the kind of relationship dynamics going on here in very subtle ways, which is what I liked. The stuff I love about Game of Thrones is like the kind of like subtextual part where like you see the politics playing out, and it's not always the most exciting thing, but to me it's the most intriguing thing, because everyone in this scene has their own goal, and oftentimes like their goals are counter to everyone else's. So there was a lot going on in this opening scene, and I just found it very intriguing. And you know, especially the kids, because the kids become a big part as they get older of the oncoming conflict. And so to get to see them and like how the battle lines are drawn and like how they're interacting with one another and stuff like that at this early age. Aemon is probably one of my favorite characters from the books. Aemon One Eye, the second born of Alicent and the
Thirdborn
kids.
Thirdborn.
Oh yeah, Thirdborn. There was a great scene in this beginning part where, so I guess after they turned down Rhaenyra's marriage proposal, they decided to wed Aegon to his sister, and Aegon and Aemon are looking at their sister play with spiders. And he's just like, she's such an idiot. He's just like rating her, and he's telling his younger brother, he's like, can you imagine having to have sex with her? That's my future. I'm gonna have to bang my sister.
And Aemon's, yeah.
That whole scene was just hilarious to me, because like they're just sitting there, like making fun of this poor girl, because they're basically saying like, she's an idiot. Look at her, and I'm gonna have sex with that. I think I can do it if I really put my mind to it. But,
I'm gonna have to be very drunk. Also, they're not standing that far away from her as they're saying it.
And the thing I liked is that they're establishing that dynamic. Like they're establishing the dynamic between the three of them, and she's like kind of saying some random stuff while she's looking at spiders.
Oh, she's reading poetry to that spider.
Yeah, yeah, and then Aemond is just kind of like, because he's basically like Stannis in many ways, but crueler, and he's basically kind of like, I do it, it's my duty. And then they kind of foreshadowed something about Aegon in terms of, one, the fact that he's a slut, and two, that he's at this age, he's already a drunk.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
Can you imagine
My
just sitting there with your brother talking about having sex with your sister? I mean, it was such a weird scene. But like this whole episode was filled with scenes like that just I found very intriguing.
Yeah.
The whole time we're watching it, Kate is just like, you believe that? Could you picture that? How about if your brother would have? And I was like, dude, just let me watch the show.
But but there's one little thing. The thing that I also appreciated about the show is that, based on what Kate is saying, I agree. I feel the same way in terms about the intrigue, and that's what makes the action that much more satisfying. Is what you see the payoff to all those machinations and those schemes and those countering goals and those countering objectives. So I agree. I love that stuff. It's very soap opera, but I love it. So
Jude, is there anything that you wanted to mention about this part?
Not really. I agree with Charles that it went on for a very long time, but I feel like this whole episode was setting up a lot of stuff that's about to happen. I feel like we keep saying that, but the book is really long.
V, I have a question for you because you and I are not book readers. This middle child of Alicent, the chick who's playing with the spiders and bugs and stuff, I feel like she's either going to become a witch or she's going to be really good at killing people with like poisons and stuff pretty soon. Is that the vibe you're getting?
I agree. That's the vibe I'm getting. I'm getting the vibe that she's going to be some kind of weird, like spellcaster. That's going to like really,
like the master of
put some problems in the mix here pretty soon.
Yeah.
I was thinking along this whole time when they're all out there on that cold ass balcony and this at the funeral reception, watching their breath make shapes in the air. I wished Vhagar had just kind of like poked his head up over the edge and just like burped or something and taken half of them out.
That would have been amazing.
So then I wouldn't have to worry about so many stupid names that start with a V and end with an A. So
the dragon's name starts with a V.
Yeah,
I did like how they. Sorry, go ahead, Vader.
And I'm these wigs in this show. My God, Charles, I need you to get.
I hate the Valerian. I hate the Valerian ones. They're terrible.
Can you go get a mop out of your closet and just stick it on your head?
Call me Corliss's long lost son.
That would be awesome. Oh man, you should do a little cosplay. I'll go get my wig from Jude's house, and we can cosplay together. That'd be super fun.
I did like how they showed all the dragons that were present at Driftmark. I couldn't really see all of them up close, so I couldn't really tell who's who. The thing is, one thing we have not seen Rhaenys' dragon, Melis, the Red Queen. We still haven't. I'm guessing maybe they're saving that for next season, but that's one of the ones. So Rhaenys, Corlys, so okay.
The queen who wasn't.
Yeah.
The queen who never was.
Yeah.
Corlys is what. Yeah, we still haven't seen her dragon yet.
She has a dragon. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, back then, of course.
All right.
Speaking of Rhaenys, she has a discussion with her husband in front of the fireplace, and it seems like there's some strife. There's some strife going on in this family. Like he's constantly biting to get somebody on the throne, and he's the same way as Viserys is. Is it Viserys? Yeah.
Which Viserys?
The king.
Oh, okay.
The king is ignoring the fact that Rhaenyra's children are not actually of his blood. Like he's making
They are.
Not of
Rhaenyra's
Laenor's. Not of
Laenor's
Corlys.
blood.
Laenor's blood, and they're not of his son's blood either, because they're not his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Corlys
sea
is
snakes
basically overlooking the fact that the strong kids aren't related to his house.
Yeah, he's
the strong boys.
He's like, what did he say in that scene? He's like, history doesn't remember blood.
History
it
remembers names.
Yeah.
Remembers names.
And
she doesn't care. She's like, I don't care at this point, dude. Our daughter died.
Jude, go ahead.
I really enjoyed that interaction between Corlys and Rhaenys, where he's just like, I have a plan. I'm playing the Game of Thrones. I want my blood on this. And she's like, wake the fuck up. It's not even your blood.
Yeah.
You're going to get everybody killed because you won't just hang out under the radar where I've lived for the last 30 years.
Vader, or not Vader, Matt, what'd you think about this?
It was a really good scene. I think that Corlys is an interesting character because, as a book reader, he has a big part to play in the events that come down. And in a way, because of his ambition and his attention to the game, he's kind of better suited to survive than any member of his family. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out. But it is an interesting dynamic where basically his wife is like, look, I've made my peace with the fact that, I'm not going to be ruler and I don't even want it at this point. And you're the only one who's pushing it. And it's causing our family to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good scene. One thing I do want to point out, though, that this episode just drove me crazy with is the day for night shooting.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
the day for night,
so bad.
Like you could see shadows and stuff. It was also muted. You could barely see what the characters were doing.
They were trying to pass the sun off as the moon.
Yeah, it was so poorly done. Like the entire time I'm watching this episode, and they go outside and they're doing day for night. I'm just like, why? You have the budget to shoot at night. Why not do it?
And it happened quick. They were
That
all
bothered
outside on the balcony, and then it flashed to something else that came back, and it was nighttime, and everybody was like, "Go to bed."
Yeah, it was
I was like, that happened.
It was
quick.
like dusk or whatever out on the balcony during the wake or whatever, and the king is like, "I'm going to bed," and he leaves. And immediately
the sun
after
rises
that,
and sets on him.
like the rest, probably the next 40 minutes of this episode is just in this horrendously altered version of night, and it's like you could barely see anybody. I had a hard time too. I had to go off of the audio. Who's talking right now? I'm pretty sure that's Matt.
Brought to you by the director of Winterfell.
Yeah, that was one thing too. I'm glad somebody else brought it up. It was so dark, and I was just like, dude, did you really think this was a good idea? It was terrible. Also, one thing I almost forgot, going quick back to the long scene at the wake, I loved the line, because I actually couldn't really understand what he said when I tried to listen twice, what Daemon said to Otto when Otto was trying to give his condolences. He's like, no matter how full a leech is, it's always waiting for its next meal. He said something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so he knows he's a snake right on
and Otto has come back as the hand of the king now that Larry Strong is dead, or not. Lionel Strong.
You had something to say?
I have a superpower. I don't know if you guys know about the superpower. I grew up about an hour away from the Oregon coast. Okay.
Sweet.
And it doesn't matter what the weather is on the Oregon coast. If I show up and I drive over there, it turns into a dark, cloudy, rainy, misty, foggy mess that looked exactly like this entire episode was shot. So it didn't take me out of this episode at all because it just looked like the Oregon coast to me.
You're at home.
So the whole day for night shooting stuff, I guess I didn't pick up on it because it just looked like another day on the
you
ocean
didn't have a hard time seeing what was going on?
No.
Okay.
But because this show I watched in the middle of the night with the lights off. So I guess
okay.
And I was really upset at that episode, season 8 episode, where it was all dark in the castle. I couldn't see shit in that episode. I didn't have that problem.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
You're talking the Winterfell, the
White
Walkers
Winterfell.
one.
Battle of Winterfell.
Yeah.
That was terrible. It was awfully
awful.
shot.
Like the rest of the season.
I didn't get that vibe from this that you guys are getting because this just like a cold, dreary day on the ocean to me.
So what's interesting about the day for night stuff is that as a filmmaker or a student of film, I've seen this technique used in other, TV shows and films and stuff like that. And one of the dead giveaways of Day for Night is when the lights are casting shadows from the actors, and you can see the shadows. And that, like that's filmmaking 101. Is if you're doing a Day for Night thing, you want to try to make it look as realistic as possible. And the fact that Miguel Sapochnik, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's like the guy who did Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards and all this stuff. You would think that he would be a good enough director to realize, okay, if I'm doing day for night, we should try to, I don't know, make it look like night. And it just
shoot at night.
Yeah.
It just seemed like amateur hour on House of the Dragon with how badly the day for night was done.
Because this screen still was actually one of the first screen stills of Rhaenyra, adult Rhaenyra, and Daemon on this coast, and it was daytime in the still. So clearly there was some bad filtering that happened in the day for night stuff.
All the money for this episode went toward dragons.
So
yeah, clearly.
So I have an actual, bringing this up, I have a question about that. I'm like, was there a reason why this had to have been switched to a nighttime
Because
story?
everyone was asleep.
Is that
everyone was supposed to be
everybody had to be gone? They couldn't be at like a party or something like that, a wake party? I don't know. Anyway.
They would have been missed.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of the night scene on the beach, we get our little romantic moment between
Sex
Daemon
on
and
the beach.
Rhaenyra. Sex on the beach.
They reconnect because this is the first time they've seen each other in like years, actually, at this point.
Yeah. And so Rhaenyra has lost her real love affair with Harwin Strong. He's dead now, so she's looking for her next piece, and she stumbles upon her uncle. I don't really have much. I don't have much to say about this.
I mean, she hasn't been touched in a sexy way in a very long time at this point.
Yeah, I guess.
The conversation she has about how like she tried to have sex with her gay husband and it just didn't work.
At least they brought it up.
I blame him.
Yeah.
It's his fault.
So,
he should have tried.
What I appreciated about that is like I think we were speculating one of the previous episodes on the podcast about like have they never tried to have kids? Like what's the deal? At least they addressed that. Like we tried and nothing came of it, so we stopped trying.
He's just like you.
Yeah.
Nothing came of it. Truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
They were both doing it, but trying not to look at each other.
Yeah.
Ew, boobs. Ew, boobs.
I think this is the first time in the history of entertainment, for me at least, that a show has ever made me look at this weird ass, gross, disgusting uncle on niece incestuous relationship and think to myself, okay.
This makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know what? This
probably should have done that in the first place.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Oh, go on. Sorry, Vader.
No, I'm just saying, it's like, in what world is this okay? It's just
a couple hundred years ago, dude.
But at the same time, I'm going, sure, dude, let's
Game of
go.
Thrones.
Get it on, baby. It's just it's making me think weird things, and I do not like it. And
yeah, so
I'm still team Rhaenyra,
Team Black, Team Black,
Team Black, whatever.
So I'll say this. I felt that I think I'm saying her last name right, Emma Darcy and Matt Smith, because there was a great chemistry between Millie. I forgot her last name.
Young
Rhaenyra and Matt Smith.
Yeah.
But I thought that Emma Darcy did a really great job recreating that. Actually, they were the first ones who started it, but I thought they had good chemistry. It felt a little more stated, maybe because they were adults. It wasn't as wild as before, but there's still chemistry there, and I thought that was a good thing. I thought it was graded well.
It was also interesting when they were talking and she was kind of like giving him crap for not having sex with her when she was younger, and he's like, "You're a child." She's like, "I'm not a child anymore."
No, but in all fairness to Viserys, I get why he didn't. Like, obviously, this would have made the most sense. There would have been no problem with the heirs. There would have been no challenge to Rhaenyra's claim because Daemon was there. But I think with Viserys, knowing his brother's nature, he was just like, I don't think I want him on the throne. And also, it's his daughter and his brother.
Yeah.
So
Matt, go ahead.
I think Jude had something.
Oh, Jude, go ahead.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it, Kadish. When Rhaenyra and Daemon are talking, I didn't get that she was like, "How dare you not have had sex with me 15 years ago?" I thought that she was like upset because she felt abandoned by him, and
Yeah.
they were really close as family before they were ever like making out in a brothel. He was her person.
Mhm.
I mean, Alicent and Daemon were her people, and that's
Yeah.
all she had. She didn't have friends. She didn't have confidants. And every time Daemon came, she was so excited because she loved him. So
I'm sure she was.
every time Daemon showed up in King's Landing, she was so excited.
I'm a child, I know. Go on,
I'll
sorry,
pause,
go
I'll
ahead.
pause for laughter.
Go on, sorry.
Finish coming.
Oh,
God damn.
oh.
You're killing me there, Jude.
Anyway. I'm done. Are you finished?
Yes.
No, okay.
Yes.
No, but she was so excited to see him because she loved him. And on the beach, she hasn't seen him in I think it's 15 years at this point. And I think that's why she was so upset, because not because he didn't finish the job, but because he abandoned her. And she had no one.
Yeah.
Can we also just briefly touch on the fact that in the first scene, we actually see Viserys try to mend fences with Daemon, like he kind of he sees his
Yeah.
brother there and he wants him back, and Daemon at this point is just like, no.
He wants nothing to do with it. He's like, I'm not. Yeah.
I found that very sad because I feel like Viserys, he's literally falling apart. And he just kind of at that moment, he's like, I just want my brother back. I want someone that I can rely on, and his brother just kind of shines him on. It was very sad. I feel like Viserys is such a tragic figure, and he's looking more and more like Joe Biden with every episode.
Oh my God.
He is a very sad
Very true.
character, but you think about it, everything that he's done with Daemon and how he treated him when he was healthy. If he wasn't ailing, do you think he would have extended that olive branch? I don't think he would have. I think if he was a healthy king, he would have wanted his brother as far away as possible.
I disagree. Remember, Viserys is very wishy-washy, and the only thing that he stayed true on is naming Rhaenyra heir to the throne. And I think that he is so stubborn about it because he knows he's a weak king. He knows he's wishy-washy. He knows he goes back and forth on decisions, and this is the one decision that he's like, I made my decision, I told everyone, and I'm sticking with it.
Mhm.
But everything else, he's just like, well, what do you think? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, she's the only one he told the prophecy thing to as well. So
Yeah.
in his brain, that's passed on to her.
Yeah.
It's not part of his kids' things. His kids aren't part of that prophecy deal and stuff, right?
Well,
So-
I think also another thing is, in one vein, I think one of the reasons why he's stuck with Rhaenyra is, aside from just stubbornness, it's maybe his one way of honoring his wife, because he was in love with his wife. That was a true, genuine love, unlike
Yeah.
his relationship.
Did you
with
notice that
Alicent's.
he referred to Alicent as his wife's name,
Emma.
his previous wife's name? And
Yeah,
he
When was that?
At the
happens
funeral.
Well, no, it happens when he's like, I'm going to
he's
bed.
getting
right?
ready
It
to
was-
go to bed. Yeah.
It was wasn't it after the altercation with the kids? Does that take place after
No,
that?
it was
No,
before.
It was before that?
Yeah. It was basically
Okay.
like he was getting ready. He had just talked to Daemon and he was getting ready to leave. And Alicent was like, do you want me to help you out? And he called her by his first wife's name.
Yeah. He
Oof.
said,
And,
Emma, I'm going to
yeah.
bed or something like that. And she just
Yeah,
looks at him
exactly.
like, what? How
Yeah.
dare you? Anyway, so the next thing that comes up in this episode is the thing that really sets this episode in motion is Aemond heads off to go claim his dragon. So we have a riderless dragon after the death of Daemon's wife, and it's the biggest one. What's his name? It's a Valerian, right?
Vhagar.
Vhagar.
Sorry, Vhagar, the biggest.
And it's
oldest
actually
dragon out
it's a
there.
she. And it's a she.
Oh, it's a she. I apologize.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to misgender the dragon.
How dare you? Get your pronouns right.
Yeah. So he goes and he tries to claim this dragon, and this scene was really cool because the dragon, as soon as he gets close to it and he touches it, the dragon's like freaking, and it's just like the sound effects, the audio on this part is the greatest part because you can barely see anything, but the audio is pretty cool, and I love how this thing sounds. Like, it sounds so guttural and deep. It was such a
And
cool scene.
old.
And old, yeah. And it just looks at him like he's a flea. Like, who are you? What are you trying
But
to
they
do?
did. But they went full horror movie on this as well, because Vhagar was sleeping, and then they kind of had a close up of the eye where it's just like, tick, and then the slit went like narrow. And it was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Really cool.
Well, it was straight out of The Hobbit, man. That was a smog thing.
Oh, I like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I loved seeing like this tiny human next to the biggest dragon in the world. Oh,
Yeah.
so cool.
The guts that kid has. I took him as kind of a wimp in the last episode because he was getting
Well, he
picked on.
was.
Well,
He was-
okay. So in the book, when he talks about it later, he's like, I was so scared that I was too busy. Like, or no, he says, shit, I was so, fuck, what does he say? Like, I was so exhilarated when it was happening. I was too busy to be scared. Or
Okay.
something like that. He was,
Okay.
he was trying to hurry because he didn't want to get caught. And he was like, I was trying to hurry to claim my dragon and I didn't want to get caught. And like Joff catches him and he pushes the kid aside and he scrambles up on the dragon. And he's like, I just wanted to get it done so that it could be done. And I forgot to be scared.
Yeah.
But like once he was up
that's
there,
right.
he was having like a holy shit, what have I done moment.
Because he almost fell off. Even when he was flying, he almost fell off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the character of Aemon, he's probably one of my favorite characters in the saga because like he becomes like a real badass when he gets older, and he has a huge part to play in the Dance with the Dragons.
He does.
And I mean, he's basically like a Jamie Lannister.
Was he
type
gonna marry?
warrior.
Is he gonna marry his aunt after Damon dies?
He always struck me as
what I mean by that is like his skill level in terms of like how he is as a warrior. He's very much like a Jamie Lannister in terms of like just being a badass.
Okay.
And so like Jamie lost his hand, he loses his eye, but in a way like he works harder to compensate for it, and he's got the biggest dragon and all this other stuff. So
Okay.
Let's talk about him losing his eye.
Well, in a minute,
we'll
we'll
get to that.
Vader,
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say anybody with an eye patch automatically gets a couple extra points on the coolness and badass
a
factor.
little bit more badass than everybody else.
I kind of picked up on this kid who all he wanted to do was be accepted, and he was picked on and he was made fun of, and he got a lot of crap because he didn't have a dragon yet.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like something clicked in him and he's like, okay, I don't have a dragon. I'm going to go get the dragon. And then nobody's ever going to fuck with me again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what he goes and he does. And when he's successful, something triggers in his head.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, now I'm the alpha and I don't care if I'm the second. It's like, everybody else can kiss my ass. And I like that attitude that he immediately gets. I don't know if I like him, because he's on the wrong team.
Terrible.
He's on team green.
He's on team green.
But I don't know if I don't know what I feel about him. I feel like he's a very interesting character. He's the most interesting character on that side of
the kids.
Of the kids, for sure.
Yeah, especially now. Yeah, especially after this episode.
And the thing is,
Aegon the Second, like we just see like how big of a fuck up he is.
Oh yeah,
his granddad has to pick him up, drunk, and drag him to bed.
Yeah, he's too busy jerking off on the town and getting drunk.
He's
trying to get chicks.
Yeah, he's so interested in girls.
Did you see Otto look around before he kicked him while he was down? Too?
Yeah.
Otto was like, anybody watching? Fuck up.
The thing too is that I like going back to Aemond. I like how they didn't just have him kind of go like they set it up from last episode in terms of him not having a dragon, but they also showed you could hear Vhagar. You didn't see her among the other dragons there, and it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like almost like elephant seals where the big ones stay by themselves and then the little ones are kind of playing amongst themselves. Like you could hear her and you saw him kind of looking around when you're hearing her roars in the distance. And so he went and found where she was specifically. I liked that little setup. It was very subtle, but I like that setup where it's like, you don't see her, but you hear her. And then he went and particularly went after her to find her, which, and yeah, you're right, Vader. He had second son syndrome. Where it's like he was kind of he was the youngest of the three that we're seeing so far. He was not going to be the heir. He was like he wanted to prove himself, and that actually after he got the dragon and once he was able to get control, because at first he was like, he was flying off, he almost fell off, and woke everyone else in the castle. That's when it kind of triggered something, and he got a little too much Kanye-fidence for his own good, as we'll see going forward.
I do want to say that I think the king was spot on when he was asking his King's Guard dudes that are in charge of babysitting all these people.
Yeah,
asking them, "What the hell are you guys doing?"
Yeah,
when my entire royal family is out there doing things you're not supposed to out on the beach and in the hills around here, and you guys are just kind of like hanging out playing cards in the barracks, right? I mean, who's protecting these kids?
And Kristen Cole's too busy gossiping about how much he hates Rhaenyra.
Oh yeah,
over that dude.
Yeah,
he's such a child.
Well, we also need to point out that the Lord Commander of the King's Guard, the Westerling, he comes out and he's like, "Your Highness, we've never had to protect the royal family from itself before. We're just not used to this type of thing happening."
So speaking of that, let's just move on because we're already talking about it. But Aemond lands the dragon. He walks back into the castle, and the two daughters of Daemon, who have just lost their mother, are like, "You just stole my dragon. My mom is barely buried, and you claimed her dragon before I could." He's like, "Well, that's your fault, bitch, not mine."
That's your problem. That's a you problem.
Yeah. Like, you had the chance, you should have done it yourself. And this is that cockiness that he gained while he was about to fall off the dragon.
Right.
He walked out a boy and came back a man with swagger.
Absolutely.
A man.
Yeah. And he was like, "Fire and blood, baby.
Yeah.
Fire and blood."
He comes back with neck tattoos.
And granted, it was tacky, but at the same time, I'm like, she's right. I'm like, you should have just claimed him.
And those girls are the ones that started the fight that ended up with him losing an eye. She's like, "Someone stole Vhagar.
Oh, dude.
Wake up."
This little kid fight was brutal.
Yeah.
Like, I've never like, besides Lord of the Flies, I've never seen kids go at each other like this. This was intense.
That's right.
Some Lord of the Flies stuff.
That was some Lord of the Flies stuff. Yeah.
Man.
Although, did you guys notice that Aemon was basically taking 4 people on by himself?
Yes.
And he was kicking their asses.
Actually, more like Lord of the Dragons.
Yeah. What made me laugh about, I shouldn't laugh at this scene because it's tragic and sad, kids beating the crap out of each other and stuff like that, but one of the young girls like comes at him and starts like taking him down, like throwing hands, and this
That's
kid
probably Bella.
bops her on the freaking nose so hard. It was hilarious. She's like, "Oh, bah!"
And he just, I mean, he was defending himself.
Yeah.
Not that I agree with him, but he was defending himself. Because initially I thought that he hit her first. I'm like, that would have been bad. But no, she hit him first. Yeah.
They came at him for sure. And then one of the strong kids comes out, pops a blade out, and starts hacking away.
Well, he was about to kill his brother. He had a stone. He was going to crush, I think it was
Luke.
We saw Jaehaerys, and he was about to crush Luke, and then Jaehaerys got the. Actually, no.
No, it's the opposite. Yeah, he was about to crush Jace, and Luke was the one with the dagger.
Yes,
but didn't he kind of provoke him too, because he called him Lord Strong?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Whenever you say Lord Strong, it's like
he's like, everyone knows they're strong bastards.
Bastard.
The great thing about this scene is that it escalated believably. It wasn't just like, oh, like he got his eye cut. It was like you could see like how things were spiraling out of control up to that point. And the believability part for me was when Aemon got sand thrown in his face, and that's when the little strong boy sliced him and took out his eye, and everything that happened in that scene was just believable.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice.
It's all fun and games until dragons are involved.
Until someone loses an eye.
And
Right.
that too.
Yep. That's where the saying came from.
Our mothers warned us.
No, the mothers goaded us.
And then the aftermath of this, of course, is the questioning. And this reminded me of a scene from early Game of Thrones, I think season 1, when Joffrey got bit by the direwolf.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
they bring all the kids, and Robert is in there like, "What is the meaning of this?" It's very
And
reminiscent.
Cersei's
of
like,
that.
"Bring me your dog."
Yeah. Alicent went full Cersei Lannister at this point. Like she was
sure
like,
did.
"There's
Well,
an eye."
technically-
She literally wants an eye for an eye, and everybody looks at her like, "What are you crazy?
Whoa.
He's a kid."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. What do you guys think about this? I'm going to start with you, Vader, because you've been pretty quiet. So, what do you think about this whole breakdown, punishment of the kids and whatnot?
Oh, it was extremely well done. I thought. I was I was kind of just engrossed in the whole scene. It's like, oh, what's going to happen next? Who's going to accuse who of what? You know, if they say it, do they have to kill her if they accuse the princess of being a slut? You know, I mean, basically, right? I mean, even the queen wasn't.
Yeah.
She's not adverse to that punishment, is she?
Mm-mm.
You know,
I guess it's up to the king's discretion. I think. I
It's
don't
like,
know.
tell me who said it, boy.
Yeah,
Because
and he looks right at his mom.
Oh yeah, yeah, pretty hardcore. Pretty hardcore.
What insult caused such an injury? It's like, well, I called them bastards.
That's
and,
treason.
And then Alicent losing her shit. That was pretty wild. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I liked it.
All
Good
right,
scene.
cool.
Good scene.
Jude, do you have any thoughts about this? I'm sure you do.
Wow.
That's a stupid question. What I meant to say is, Jude, do you have any thoughts about that? Wait, that's a stupid question. Jude, take it away.
Okay, so this was the most interesting part of this episode for me. And I loved how Allison was like, how far can I push this? But I mean, I don't even think that she was trying to see how far she could push it, but she found out. And even when she was like, Sir Criston, you're sworn to me. And he's like, to protect you, you crazy.
Yeah.
And she's still like, Viserys is like, let it go. And she's like, fuck that. I'm the queen. I'm going over your head. And he's like, you can't.
That was,
This was so interesting for me, how far she tried to push it. And thanks, Gasso.
yeah, holy shit, man. Thank you.
How far she tried to push it. And how she's still not like, she's like, this is not over.
Yeah. Real quick.
This was really interesting for me.
I just have to address this. I'm not sure if Gasso was here at the beginning. Buddy, we are going to read all the super chats at the end of the live stream. Thank you so much. That is an amazing super chat. We will get to it. So if you hang tight a little bit, we're going to give you a minute at the end of the show. Kadish, you're next, buddy. What did you think about this whole breakdown, the aftermath of the fight?
So this was my favorite scene of the episode. And again, at the beginning, you know, there was a lot of subtext with all the political maneuvering and all the different players. And in this scene, all the subtext is pushed aside and people are basically putting their cards on the table. This is the first time where we see the battle lines drawn, where it's the blacks versus the greens. We see, like, you know, Team Rhaenyra and Team Alicent. And the thing I loved most about this scene is that nobody was wrong in what they were in what they were demanding. Like, Alicent had every right to demand that, like, justice be done for, like, her child losing an eye, and Rhaenyra had every right to protect her child and try to, you know, get out of that situation. So that's one of the things I love about George R.R. Martin's writing, is like, he never gives you a simple solution. It's never black and white. And I feel like seeing Alicent basically become proactive and grab Viserys' knife because she just can't deal with him fence sitting anymore and being willfully blind to Rhaenyra's flaunting of, you know, of her duties. This was basically, and we see this later on when Otto talks to her, where it was like, wow, she finally stepped up and was like, okay, enough kind of like background maneuvering. Yeah. I'm just going to straight up take matters into my own hands and you know, get what I want.
That was insane.
Yeah,
such an insane move.
Yeah, and it was great because, like, you had the Kingsguard there, and you know, they're like, we've never had to protect the royal family from itself. Yeah, and Sir Criston Cole's where he's like, yeah, I'm your ally, but, like, I'm not going to be like your assassin.
I'm not going to murder the heir to the throne for you.
Yeah, exactly. And the way Daemon just kind of like. He's kind of like in the background, just kind of watching all this play out. But then, like, when Alicent pulls the knife, he's the first one over to Rhaenyra's side. Yep. The way that the kids are doing things, like, I like when Aemond basically tells Viserys that his brother Aegon was the one who told him.
He threw him under the bus.
Yeah, he did.
He's like, you're not going to punish the heir to the throne.
Yeah. And Aemon, Aegon's sitting there, and he's like, Dad, we all have eyes. Look at them. Yeah, that was obvious to everyone but you.
Yeah,
and what's crazy is that, like, these are all like these are Viserys' sons, like his actual kin, and versus his daughter and his grandchildren, and so like he's in a really like impossible position here,
Mhm.
and he's just making it worse by
Fence sitting.
like, going hard on it.
Can't everybody just get along? Just
Yeah.
shake hands.
Not
That's
in
literally what
this
he
family.
said. We're a family.
The only way to get Targaryens to get along is if you marry them together. Then they
Yeah.
Well,
have
that's
to.
not even that's not a sure bet.
Yeah, but this scene was, I thought, the best scene of the series so far. I loved it.
Yeah.
And
I think-
it was
I
great.
think this scene might make up for the horrendous wedding ceremony thing that we watched in the previous episode, where like everything just happened for no reason.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think this scene made up for that, because I agree, this was amazing, and Aemond is quickly becoming, like, I know I'm not on Team Green, but Aemond is becoming my favorite character among that tribe.
Oh, you just like eye patches.
He's so freaking cool. No, but like
So
before
do
he
you,
got,
V.
So,
before he gets
so
the eye
I'll-
patch, before he gets that, he's like, Mom, don't worry about it. It's a fair trade. I lost an eye, but I got a dragon.
What
And
a
he's like,
badass.
what
And
a
so-
badass.
And so I'll take
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go with it. So yeah, I agree with pretty much a lot of what you guys are saying. Is that this was, again, all the subtext, all the buildup led to this, and also another thing that was interesting was when Alicent lost her shit, and Rhaenyra was kind of like, it was interesting because this time it was like she kind of almost fell into Rhaenyra's trap where she was like losing her shit, and she's like, look at you, everyone sees you as you are now. But
Yeah.
it was interesting where all those years of frustration, having to have sex with the borderline corpse, having to do the right thing, all came out in so many ways. She almost said like all those old resentments where she was kind of like, you get to flaunt and do whatever you want. I did the right thing. I followed the rules, and you just kind of just flaunt your discretions in everyone's face. And I was like, oh, so it's not, so her actions are not just to say protect her family, not just power grab. There's also just bitterness and resentment in terms of how they both came about, how they both were. Because even though, yes, Rhaenyra was also alone in many ways as being but also so was Alicent. Once Alicent became the queen, like she was very much alone as well.
Yeah.
And the one person who was supposed to have her back not only abandoned her, but lied to her, treated her like an idiot. So there's a lot of reasons why she felt the way she did. So I thought it was a great scene. And I also thought it was interesting how the guy who kind of instigated everything was the one who kind of diffused it. He's just like, we still kind of won. I'm like,
Yeah.
I lost an eye, but dude, look at what we got in return. Look at what we got.
We got Vhagar.
And then they also kind of showed, like, I loved how they showed the battle lines where it was like you saw Rhaenyra, her kids, Daemon, and Corlys on her side as well, because those are his, quote, quote, grandkids. But, and also when Alicent went crazy, another thing to consider is that you saw Kristen Cole kind of, he's finally doing, because at first he was kind of like, I'm kind of in a weird situation. But when Alicent kind of went after the kids and Rhaenyra stopped her, Kristen Cole kind of came in to try and intervene, and Daemon he's the one who couldn't stop them. He's the one who got in his way. So,
So, like, I understood Kristen Cole's hesitancy to get involved in this because pretty much every player in this scene is not going to die because they're royalty in some way or fashion or related to royalty. He's the one who's, like, expendable. He's just a guard. If he does something that oversteps his bounds, he's dead. So he's not. I understood completely why he was hesitating to get involved. He's like, whoa. I could lose my head over this. I'm going to stay out of this. Like,
another quick thing, too. You're all forgetting the missing person from this scene because he's just so fucking useless. Pardon my French, but he is. Where is Laenor? Oh my God, he is pathetic and useless. He's not even trying. He's not even trying to pretend.
He doesn't even know what's going on.
Yeah, he
well,
comes
what was funny is didn't Viserys say like, where's Laenor? And Rhaenyra had to basically be like, oh, I had trouble sleeping, so I was walking on the beach. He's probably still in bed. Like she basically had to make up a lie for like him being with his gay lover and her being with like her new lover, her uncle, and cover it all up in that scene. It was pretty fun.
She always had to do all the work, literally.
Yeah.
So
real quick, I want to touch on the conversation that Alicent has with her father, Otto. Otto finally is like, I didn't know you had it in you. Welcome to the Game of Thrones. We can play now. And it was a funny scene. It was really, really short, but I think it was important for the development of these two characters. And I'm also going back to how they introduced Otto back back as Hand of the King, I'm so glad they didn't spend like 15 minutes reintroducing him as the Hand. They just did a subtle nod where like they scan down to his pin on his jacket and they're like, oh look who's
His
back,
lapel.
and then they just move on. They're like, it's not that important, you got it.
He was gone an entire episode.
Yeah, which was actually what, like 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 12 years.
He doesn't look a day older. All right, so the next scene after this, the useless husband returns to the playing board, and I was like, "What happened? What happened? I was hanging out with my friend. What's going on?"
At least he knew he was useless.
Yeah, well, he even says, he's like, "You deserve
I'm
an
useless.
actual husband.
Yeah.
I am not the person you should be with right now."
He came around. He came
Yeah.
around right there. He said, "Okay, I'm going to do what you need me to do, and let's get it done. I'll stick around." And but she has a plan. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Well, I'm glad
Very,
they don't outright show you them kind of planning this, but
Mhm.
the end of the episode reveals that they had a pretty in-depth conversation at this point about like what they're going to do to get themselves out of the situation.
yeah.
Well,
Jude,
also, he kind of made a point where he was like, you can do your duty and you can be happy, but those two aren't mutually exclusive. So he's basically like, I'm willing to sacrifice my happiness to fulfill the deal that we made like all those years ago. And that kind of leads into the big twist at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was interesting that he finally was like, okay, I know I'm a fuck up, but I'm going to try not to be one anymore for your sake.
Yeah. And then we get a little back and forth between Daemon and Rhaenyra, which is what kind of sets the ending of this episode into motion, where they're like, we need to figure out exactly what we're going to do because the battle lines have been drawn.
She woos him in Valerian. I'm glad they
Yeah.
brought that back, by the way,
Yeah.
where she was kind of like, I need your help against the Greens.
Yeah.
But he points out the obvious elephant in the room where he's just like, I might be free, but you're not.
Yeah, yeah, and they come up with this this machination to solve all of their problems and get themselves aligned. And Rhaenyra's like, "Can you just marry me already? Like, let's just get this over with." And he's like, "Well, how are we gonna do that?" And he's like, Now the episode leads us to believe that they are actually going to try and kill her husband to get him out of the way. And then like his boy toy is approached and is like, "Listen, do you want gold? Because you're a nobody. You're just a knight. If you want a lot of gold and a ship to Pentos, do this." And then we see him confront. God, I can't remember his freaking name. Laenor.
Carl.
Laenor.
Laenor.
We get him. We see his boy toy confront Laenor and say, "You always look down to me," and start a fight with a witness, and like the whole thing happens. And then at the end of the episode, I'm just going to skip to it. At the end of the episode, it's revealed that Laenor actually shaved his head, jumped on a boat, went with his boy toy to Pentos with a shit ton of money. And it's all been planned from the beginning.
Yeah,
So
faked his death.
Also,
Faked
it's
his
Carl,
own death.
and by the way, it's Carl with a Q.
Yeah.
Coral.
Quarrel.
Well, there's no U, so it's Carl.
And what's weird is that in the books, so like basically Laenor is actually killed by Quarrel at a fair or a festival or something like that.
In
He's just
public.
like stabbed in the
in public, and so like this is a big departure from the books.
I kind of liked this though. I liked
But
this
I know
better.
what-
It's more intriguing.
I know why they did this, though. One of the reasons why they did this. One, it's actually more intriguing. Two, I think Game of Thrones has gotten a lot of criticism for how they've treated LGBTQ characters and women, at least the previous series. And also just, how that's kind of the whole, kill your gays trope. That's actually, I think they wanted to avoid that because that would be a bad look, even though this is medieval times or whatever.
Renly.
Renly, exactly. But also another thing too. Also, you forgot one thing that happened before, and this is kind of what gave it away. Before Daemon had that conversation with Carl with the Q, you see Daemon just kind of randomly kill some person in a stairwell. Like he just kind of broke his neck or broke his neck or something.
Yeah.
So it's because how they did it was that they showed them kind of confronting each other and fighting. And then the next thing you know, everyone's going into the hall and you see Laenor in a fire and his face is so badly burned, you don't know, like you can't recognize him.
he's
So they've got him on that thing from the waist up. His whole
Oh,
Yeah.
so the
they
guy
can't
who killed.
recognize him.
Sorry, Vader.
No, I was you were doing it. You were going there.
Yeah, the guy that they killed in the stairway is the dude, the body that they used to fake
Yes.
it. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
I'm such an
Because
idiot. I didn't-
that's how they get. That's how they when they did. I was like, oh, that's how they're doing it. Okay.
Yeah. Was he
Yeah.
was he a black guy? Was that a black guy that
Yeah.
they killed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, because when we were watching it, I was like, why did Damon kill that one guy? And then when they revealed that Laenor was alive at the end, I was like, oh, that was the body they put in the fireplace to make it look like that was Laenor.
Yes.
So like you kind of had to think about it for a little bit once the reveal happened. Because up to that point, you're just like, why is anyone doing any of this?
Sir
Like, why
Crispy
is Poirot
Valerio.
trying to kill his boyfriend?
And God, I feel sorry for freaking Corlys and Rhaenys. Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they just
That's
buried
like
their
1-2
daughter.
punch.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh, and
I don't feel sorry for them, and I don't even know why. I feel like she's just.
So I
Just so
feel like
cold-blooded, V.
I know, but I don't like them as a couple. I don't feel like they don't. There's
no chemistry.
they're missing something that makes me want to care about them, and I'm not sure what exactly it is. It's just like they're the one power couple in this show that I'm like, I don't care about. I like him. I like Corlys. I don't like her.
so.
And there's just something about her that I really don't like.
I think hold on 1 second, Jude. I just want to say this before I forget. But I think what you're picking up on, Vader, is like, I don't feel like either of them have like joined a side yet at this point.
No.
They don't feel like
Maybe.
they jumped the line in the sand. Like they're not Team Rhaenyra and they're not like against Alicent. They're just trying to play their own game, and that leaves them kind of out in the open. And they haven't really picked a side yet. So that might be what you're picking up on.
Maybe.
And also, when they faked his death, and you see Rhaenys like drop to her knees and start freaking out, my immediate thought was like, this is not going to. I don't feel like this is going to get them on Rhaenyra's side. Like at this point, this feels like it might backfire on them if they're trying to stay within, have their support, have their boats and all this stuff.
Rhaenyra has their grandchildren.
They're both, so they don't have a choice.
No,
Yeah,
Quote.
Damon's. Yeah, but I don't know.
Those
Anyway.
are their only heirs right now. Are Damon's daughters. So.
Jude, go ahead.
Yeah, I loved the conversation between Damon and Rhaenyra when they were talking about, and Rhaenyra's like, they're going to lose both their kids. And Damon's like, yeah, but then they'll be like, what else are they capable of? You're playing the Game of Thrones.
And you know another thing,
Game of Thrones.
and here's another thing too. And actually, I think Daemon being now firmly on Rhaenyra's side is a good thing and could be a bad thing given how things go. But I think the one thing that we noted is that when you saw, I think it was when you saw Viserys and then the rest of the royal family leaving, you saw them leave with 3 dragons. So interestingly enough, obviously Vhagar was with Aemond, Dreamfire was with, and we haven't seen him. We saw him like once or twice. Dreamfire is Aegon's dragon, and then I'm guessing Helena was riding her dragon. I forgot the name of her dragon in the books, but you'll probably
something with an
figure.
S.
Yeah, something with an S. So
Yeah.
those are the 3 dragons we saw leaving to go back to Blackwater Bay and King's Landing.
Can we also point out like the scene with Viserys in the coach as they're going to the ship?
Bastard. He looks miserable.
He's not this bad in the books. They fucked him up for the show.
Because he's actually a much happier, jolly person. The problem with him is that he's almost too much like Tytos Lannister, where he's too much of a people pleaser.
Well,
like
what's interesting about the books, and I want to talk about this real quick in regards to Larry Strong. I call him Larry.
Sunfire.
It's Larry's. So like he. The interesting thing about the books is that they're told from like different points of view. Like a maester is basically cobbling together all these different accounts of what happened during the Dance of Dragons, and so it's unreliable narrators. And so the stuff that's presented in the books is not necessarily accurate to how it actually happened, which is what we're seeing in the show, because they've come out and said basically the show's canon, and the books are basically a riff off of like the actual events of the show.
Okay.
And so the fact that they presented, Viserys as kind of more jolly and more healthy was purposeful in order to preserve his legacy as
That's
opposed
true.
Okay.
to what was actually happening. Because he basically is Joe Bidening out, where he, he's like deteriorating in front of everyone's eyes as time goes on. But I want to point out that the scene where like the king's group is sailing away from Driftmark, and Alicent is on the bridge, and we've seen Larry Strong in the background throughout this
whole
entire
time.
episode.
Yep.
And he's probably my favorite character of this show, because I've actually done a little bit of digging into like his character, because I didn't remember him from the books. And it turns out that like he's like he's the master of whisperers for Alicent's court for the Greens. He's like the spy master.
Yeah.
And basically he's also this guy who's like a super Littlefinger type dude. And the reason that I don't remember him from the books is because they're basically saying that he was so good at staying under the radar that he kept himself out of the histories, even though like he was like Lord of Harrenhal and all this other stuff. And so like his role in the show is actually much broader and more integral. And we see him actually performing things that are alluded to in the books. Like in the books, the fire at Harrenhal that killed the Strongs was never kind of explained. It was like, it could have been an accident. Daemon could have been
Daemon
responsible for it. But in the show, we're seeing that it's actually, his nickname in the history books is the Clubfoot. The Clubfoot is the one who has all these machinations, and he's doing it in order to put Alicent into his service, basically. Like he's playing it like, oh, I'm at your beck and call and I will do what you need me to do. But it's actually, he's the one who's controlling her, which is really interesting. And he has a bigger part to play as the Dance of Dragons kind of unfolds as well. And so like, I'm really loving his character. In fact, in the previous episode that you guys talked about without us, it should be pointed out that when his father brought Larry to court, he was given the role of master interrogator, like the guy who was in charge of torturing prisoners.
Oh, which is why he had access to them. Okay.
Yeah. And they never point that out in the show, but in the books, it's like that's how he's able to get access to all the people in the dungeons and stuff, and grant them mercy and stuff like that.
Right
and just a correction, thank you very much, Jude. I did see that too. So Helena's dragon is Dreamfire. Aegon the Younger, his dragon is Sunfire. So my apologies for the
can somebody?
I got it wrong too. It was fine.
Can somebody point me in the direction of like a flow chart or something? I need.
Just talk to me. Talk to me.
I need houses. I need names. I need who rides what dragon, and I would like some visual representation involved as well.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's coming out October 25th. Is another way that George R. R. Martin is milking money out of people who are waiting for Winter. He's coming out with, I guess, a new book. It's called Rise of the Dragon. It has like 180 new pictures. Why am I promoting this? It's a new book. It's a new book.
That's why.
Yeah, that's not Winds of Winter, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
And real quick, the last scene in the show is like basically Rhaenyra and Daemon elope essentially on the coast of this castle, and they do like it feels like a traditional Targaryen wedding with like the blood.
They were at
wedding
Dragonstone at that point. They were at Dragonstone.
Oh, they left. Okay, so this show is freaking teleporting people. I didn't realize that. I thought they were still on
Driftmark now.
Driftmark.
Yeah, Driftmark.
No,
okay,
it's
so
probably
they went
like a year later too. I don't know.
yeah, probably.
And the kiss from their wedding was more passionate than anything I've seen
Listen,
in the show so far.
That wedding was badass.
It was cool.
I want to get remarried and do that.
Do it.
I think
I haven't
my wife
told him
could
yet,
not
but that's
do
what
it,
Kadish and I are doing for ours.
I'm down.
sweet.
I want to go watch.
There was blood involved, like they're doing a blood oath, and she was wearing. I like what she was wearing too. It was very. It seemed like maybe it was more traditional Valyrian wedding.
Yeah,
that could have been it.
I think that's because even like some of the other weddings that we've seen, even if they're between two Valyrian people, like they didn't look this traditional, I guess. Like she's got some of a headdress on that looks like she's got horns or something. It's crazy, and they're both wearing like a white gown that ombres out into a red, so it almost looks like it's blood or whatnot. It's a really freaking cool. Yeah, the costumes are cool.
You went full fashion designer there with the ombre and out.
What I really
that was cool. I liked it.
What I really wanted to see during the wedding, because you had that one shot where basically you have Daemon and whatever the hell her name is, Rhaenyra, and their kids, and I'm surprised they didn't have their two dragons like hanging up over the edge.
Like the Brady Bunch,
yeah, the Brady Bunch. I just needed an Alice. I need an Alice in the middle, kind of like hanging out and raising the kids. While,
so Rhaenyra's family is now the Brady Bunch.
There's a story.
I know, pretty much.
Of a man named Ray Damon. He's living with two
love
awesome kids in the dragon.
All right, let's
Yes.
let's
So
do some-
another thing. So another quick thing too is because I know this is going to annoy a lot of people watching. There's going to be another time jump in the 8th episode.
Yeah.
Because we see like 8. Oh,
There's
sorry.
been
Go
a
ahead.
time jump in every episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I feel like the preview for the next episode got me more excited. Like this show is just compounding on the excitement. Like you're watching these characters, and at first that time jump is very jarring.
Yeah.
But now, like as time moves forward, you're like, oh, we're getting closer and closer to shit really hitting the fan.
Once the kids are adults, like you know, Aegon and Aemon and stuff like that,
And
that's
Boblin
when
and
that's when their role really starts to solidify in terms of like what part they play in the coming conflict.
Because
so, like, all the characters are now established, and by the time the next episode comes about, they're all going. I don't think we're going to see like other actors come in and swap them out.
No.
I think these are going to be the ones that we're stuck with for the.
I can't wait for
next season.
Aragorn and Arwen to come show up. That'll be really cool.
Wrong series.
All right, so let's do final thoughts on this episode before we get to super chats. Jude, go ahead, give it a rating. I don't know if you want to give it a rating or not, but what do you think?
We don't do ratings for this.
No, we don't. You're right. We don't. It's force of habit.
Really liked the episode. I feel like I have to watch every episode twice, and I only got to watch this one and a half. Because while I'm watching it with Kadish, he keeps trying to talk to me, and I'm like, just shh.
He's like, well, actually, in the books.
He's like, what? Yeah, no, he's like, in the books, didn't it? And I'm like, I don't fucking remember. And then I need to watch it once for research and once for enjoyment. But I'm really so happy that like this show's good, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Yeah, I totally agree. Someone in the chat was like, I feel like we're getting 3 seasons in one, and 100% you were absolutely, that is how it feels. But it's setting up so much that it doesn't feel like it's a waste, you know? Like a lot of times when you watch a show and they're like, it's all set up, and you're not even excited for what it's setting up. I'm really excited for what this is setting up. And I'm really enjoying. I hated the day for night stuff. I think there's a lot of cutting corners that they're doing that is annoying. But the meat and potatoes of the meal of the episode is still good enough for me to be like, you know what, maybe I just don't need to pay attention to that gravy. So really enjoying it.
Vader, final thoughts.
So look, man,
He sounds like the dragon on the beach.
Kind of barbecue.
He's Vhagar.
Yeah, he's Vhagar. It's not Vhagar.
That's your new name. That's your new name.
I am in such a happy place with this show. You know, when this season started, I was like really worried that it was going to suck.
Everyone
you know
was.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was, and I think we're past the point now where the doubters, if the doubters aren't on this show yet, then I don't know what to say to you. You're missing the boat. But the thing that's really standing out to me, and it has nothing to. This show is so much and far away superior to its competition show.
Oh my God!
Right now,
it's not even a question.
It's no contest, and I don't know what you have to talk about the other one to talk about this one in this world of what we do a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We watch that Lord of the Rings show every Saturday morning, or we talk about it, and it's just it's hard to talk about. I'm done talking about it. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, this show sucks. I want to move on. This show comes on. We could talk about this thing all day.
Yeah, I have to push the conversation to an hour because we could spend all day on this thing. Yeah,
and it's just such a far superior product, and it's just nice. It's nice to have something that's this good on TV again, because
we're getting a lot of people in the chat that are agreeing with you.
Yeah, there's just so much shit on the television now that doesn't push any of the buttons, and this one pushes them all.
Yes.
And I'm in. I'm sold. I want to know what happens. I want to know what's going to go. So yeah,
you saw that. You saw that one.
Yeah. Shut your mouth. She-Hulk is amazeballs.
Oh, the sarcasm.
Oh, man. All right, Charles, last thoughts on this episode. Take it away.
Vader, I mean 200%, because the thing I like about this is that this is how you adapt something. I get like some of the time jumps they're doing here, because if they did the time jumps, just getting to the Dance of the Dragons would take like 3 seasons. So I get some of the time jumps they're doing. It looks like they're going to do that second season, which is good. But this is such a far superior project to Rings of Power, because with this, they're changing certain things, but they're keeping they're pretty much being pretty faithful to the lore of the Dance of the Dragons, the way I see it. Whereas in Rings of Power, they're going to the point where they're not only changing lore, pulling stuff out, compressing things, they're even changing maps to fit their shitty show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just total dog shit. Sorry, I know I don't want to get too mealy mouthed, but but going back to House of the Dragons, it has the dynastic feuds, which I love, because I think everyone's a big fan of these dynastic feuds, these mega families feuding, especially when it's in a civil war and you're pulling all these other things into it. I feel that I'll tell you this. I was worried like most people, but I thought to myself, they know that they have a gold mine with all things A Song of Ice and Fire in terms of that lore, in terms of that timeline, given how decidedly negative the reception was to the last season in the series finale for Game of Thrones. I knew they're not going to screw this up. They had to. If they screwed it up, like, this whole franchise is dead in the water. So this was extremely important that they stuck the landing. And I think, George being involved when he should be writing Winds of Winter, that was important as well. But I think that, like, this was a great episode, especially leading, like, at this point, yes, there was a win for the Blacks, but there was a huge win for the Greens in terms of getting Vhagar on their side, the biggest dragon ever. It's kind of like, okay, it's kind of like, don't fuck with this vibe now, getting Vhagar. But Rhaenyra now has a reliable ally on her side that she didn't have before, because even with Harwin, yeah, he was a lover, he was supporting, but he could never be implicitly said out in the open. With Daemon, she can be like, okay, look at me now. I can flaunt this in your face. So both of them had wins in this episode, even though it was more subtle. And there was this threat of violence about to spill over, but it'll be curious to see where they go with this. Now that, okay, battle lines are more hardened, we're going to see the kids are going to be older in the next episode. What happens next? And that's what you want, is people to continue to kind of come back and to figure out and to just crave more. And I think they did a great job with this show so far and where they're going.
Yep. All right. Before we get to Super Chats, Kadish, take it away. Final thoughts.
I just want to point out that my lovely lady complaining about me talking during a TV show is a little bit hypocritical. Just needed to say that publicly, my dear.
We're going to talk about it later.
Clearly.
Because Jude is infamous for peppering me with questions about what's going to happen in movies that I haven't even seen before. But this was my favorite episode of the season so far. I loved everything about it. It feels like this show's actually building towards something. It is still kind of frustrating that there are things like the bad day for night and like kind of like the fake outs where, if you're not paying close attention, you don't really understand what's happening, like with Laenor faking his death. The wedding scene a couple episodes back. They do a lot of these things where it's just kind of like they assume the audience has read the books and therefore knows what's going on or is paying close enough attention to figure out what they're doing. But it's a problem with this show. But overall, like, I'm looking forward to as we go into the 8th episode, and then we got the penultimate episode, which is where things really go down. Then we got the 10th episode. So this next episode is going to be building up into the episode 9, which is historically when things always like come to a head in the Game of Thrones seasons. Episode 9 is always like the episode where the big battle happens or like the big betrayal happens or something like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next episode, which I believe is called The King of the Tides, something like that, is going to be setting up. But this was my favorite episode to date so far.
Cool. Right on. All right, everybody, we're going to jump into the super chats now. So if you would like to support the channel, drop us a dime, and we will bring your comment up on the screen and talk about it. The big one from Gasso, man, we've got to address this. This is amazing. $30.99, dude. It's incredibly generous.
Dude, that's like
Thank you so
$2.99 in New Zealand dollars.
That's maybe.
Thanks,
Don't,
man.
don't
really
shortchange
generous.
Gasso. Gasso is a patron as well, so he's a
Yes.
patron of our podcast, and he's dropping us some good dough right here. Thank you so much, man. Loving the Salt Hot House of Dragons reviews. Cheers for the content. Finally got to catch one live. Thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate it. Gasso is from Down Under in Australia.
Nice.
We love our people down there. And coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to have a whole week dedicated to an Australian movie franchise, Wormwood. We've got an interview with the writer-director, interview with the main cast, and
Isn't
also...
that this week?
Is it this week or next week?
It's next week.
Next week.
Next week.
We should also point out that Gasso is like awake at like 3 a.m. watching
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Hero.
Because they're like
Thank you,
what,
man.
16, 17 hours ahead of us? I could be wrong.
I think it's 8. I think it's 8 or 9. Is it ahead or behind? I can't remember. Gasso, if you're in the
It's,
chat,
it's ahead.
let us know.
They're in the
Okay.
future.
Well, the day starts there. They
Right
are
on.
in the
Pretty
future.
much, yes.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, thank you so much for that chat, man. It's amazing. Yeah, we're here every week, buddy. We're covering this show, and I'm sure we will be absolutely covering the next season that comes out for sure. If it keeps, I'm with you guys. I'm so glad that it's actually good. Like that was one of the biggest worries after season 8 ended, and it's been a couple of years since the show has been out. And we're all just kind of like soured. The whole franchise kind of fell apart. The fandom just disappeared off the face of the map. And this show, I feel like, is earning its name back, which I'm super.
It's nice to
happy.
talk about a good show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
We don't get to do that often.
I know.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to do that. I really appreciate that because it's just so often nowadays. It's like even especially with fandom shows, like shows that are like speculative fiction. A lot of times, it's like they'll just throw slop at us and just like enjoy the crumbs, enjoy the slop, and it's like don't give me that shit and call it ice cream. No, it's bad, and it's nice that this is actually good again.
I'm still waiting for Alicent Rhaenyra's twerking scene.
No.
Never going to happen unless
Never
in the
gonna
bloopers. Unless in the bloopers.
I don't even want to talk about that. I mean, comic book movies are different. Comic book shows are different, but this
No, they're
this
not.
is
They're not that different.
You know, I'll tell you.
they're more lighthearted. This show takes
Bro, this
itself
is a
very,
show
very seriously.
about
This-
dragons and people fighting with swords
It's very
and
serious.
wizards.
Yeah,
and,
or
and-
to quote
and-
Ian McShane, tits and dragons.
yeah, tits and dragons.
Tits and Dragons, buddy. Which have we? We did see tits in this season. Not
Did
as
we?
many as in that brothel
It's
scene.
been very sausage and tits light. That is for sure.
They got crap. And I think another thing too, they got a lot of crap in the original series because of sex position, which
Bro,
I
it's
had no
HBO.
problem with. I know, dude. It's like relax, dude.
Yeah.
Let's give it to us.
Go to
You know?
USA if you don't want that.
I know. It's like I don't need PG-13 Thrones. Give me some good stuff.
Next super chat from patron JT.
My man.
Thank you, Sarah, for $2. I stand with Vader. The Princess Bride is meh. Dude, I couldn't believe it. Vader, what did you give that movie? 4 stars?
3.
3. You gave it 3 stars.
3.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay.
It was fun.
Sacrilege.
It was fun back in the day. I liked it. It was enjoyable.
Yeah,
Oh
it
no, was
fun.
Charles
It was,
Team Vader too?
it was fun
No,
when I was.
No, I liked it. That's the thing. It was fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
It
Yeah.
holds up.
It
I
does.
liked it too, but it's not a 5-star movie.
Yes,
okay?
it is.
No,
5-star.
no, it's not. You guys are all wrong. I'm
You're
sorry.
crazy. You're crazy.
No,
I was
My
going to
name
make
is-
you breakfast tomorrow, Vader. I'm not now.
My name is Aldo Montoya. You killed
I
my
don't-
father. Prepare to die.
I don't need any shrimp casserole, Jude. It's okay. Thanks, though. Appreciate it.
Oh my god.
Oh,
It
man.
only tastes like shrimp when you're having a stroke.
I think at the end of the day, and I think one of the things that I wanted to point out just in did you do both of the super chats or just curious? I don't want to.
Yep, that was
Yeah,
both of them.
Okay. The thing I also wanted to point out is that I think in the situation with this show where they kind of did a race swap, it made sense given the bigger picture. Because like obviously you could have gotten away with maybe it's could have just a recessive gene, but no. Okay, hey, those are definitely not Corliss's grandkids.
Yeah.
They're definitely not Laener's kids. You can tell right away. And that was done very strategically in a smart way where it ultimately paid off. I know a lot of people were crying about it, but it's like, no, it makes sense now when you see it.
Especially when you compare them to Damon's daughters.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And another thing too, just jumping back real quick, that little scene that we saw at the wake where Jacaerys and Luke kind of went over to Daemon's kids,
Yeah.
it paid off during that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you saw them united against Aemond, who, you're right, he was taking 4-on-1. He was kind of a badass in that situation. But you saw it kind of, that little scene, because you've never really seen them together, it paid, like, I like how, granted, there are some situations, I agree with Matt, where they're like, hey, this is, okay, sometimes they kind of do the thing where if you're a book reader, you'll know it, but other people won't. But I think some of the things they do well is doing these little setups, just with a little scene, just with a little look, just with a little exchange that doesn't even need to have words. And it pays off a little later in an episode. So
real quick before we head out, I just wanted to point out, since I was not here last week, that the guy who plays Aegon Targaryen II, he's David Tennant's son.
Yeah.
he's a junior Time Lord, yes.
Yes.
Whoa. And
Junior
he's working,
Time Lord.
and he's working with Matt Smith. That's
God, we've come full circle.
I didn't even think about that. That's true.
that's pretty cool.
Oh my god, I love that. That's
Oh my
amazing.
God, I want to be in this Matrix.
We are in the Doctor Who timeline. I swear.
All right, guys.
Another overrated show.
All right. On that
Later?
note, we're gonna end it. We're gonna end it. Thank you all for being here. We had 32 some odd people watching live. Thank you guys so much. We'll be here next week to talk about the penultimate episode. Cheers, everybody.
Damn it.
I don't need anything to drink. So.
And it's gonna be a lot of fun. So
Actually,
join us.
actually it's not the penultimate. 9 is the penultimate.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I drank for no reason. It's okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, real quick announcement. I am going to be doing another live show tonight, interviewing an actress, Athena Massey. She's been in TV shows like Star Trek Voyager, Seinfeld, a whole bunch of things from the 90s. She's a wonderful person. I'm really looking forward to chatting with her today. So join us 7 p.m. Pacific time. We will be starting that interview, and I hope to see you all in the chat. It will be live, so you'll be able to ask questions, and we'll address them as we go and have a lot of fun. So I would love for you guys to meet her. She's a really cool lady, and that's it. Yeah, 7 o'clock
And,
tonight. I'll be there.
I want to point out, this week we're starting our coverage of Battlestar Galactica, the reboot. So we've got our mini-series review coming out on Wednesday. We've got the Patreon episode coming out tomorrow. And then this Friday, we are reviewing the epic Tollywood movie RRR.
Yep.
So be sure to check that out.
That is literally rendering on my laptop right next to me. All right. Vader, say goodbye to the people. Where can they find you?
Bye, people. You can find me here at Matt Vhagar 74.
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
And at salty_nerd on that Twitter channel. I admin that. We all have a social media that we take care of. So
Yep.
that's
All right,
me.
cool. Jude, say goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you for hanging out with us and talking about dragons. And you can find me at I am Jude Juju on the socials. And also, if you are a lover of old sci-fi, we're doing Buck Rogers trivia next Sunday.
Yep. Next Sunday, guys, live trivia for everybody. We'll have a link in our Discord. So if you're not already part of the Discord, go to saltynerddiscord.com, join up. We'll give you a role, and you will get notifications for when we do live trivia and watch parties and all other cool stuff. So head over there if you're not already. Kadish, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right. You can find him at Matthew Kadish on Twitter. He's a blue check mark. Check him out. And Charles, last word, sir. Take it away.
Yeah, you can find me at CCEKEKE on the Instagram and on the Facebooks. You can also find me on the Amazons. Book 8 in my Pantheon saga, Extinction Level event, is coming out October 11th. Be there or be square.
Nice. Right on. And anybody know how they say stay salty in Old Valyrian?
Oh, we're so learning that.
I'm so learning that.
Alteris.
I'm sure there's a generator for that.
It's got to be. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. Stay salty. See you next week.